Watching TV has changed over time. Streaming has become the new norm. That's why Golden State Media Concepts television podcast dives headfirst to the world of cord cutting. Want to be on the loop of what's hot in Netflix? Or if it's not a preference, what about original shows in Hulu? We've got you covered. Join us as we fill in the blanks and talk about movies to stream and what show you should be binging. This is the Golden State Media Concepts television podcast.
And welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts television podcast.
I cannot take that seriously. That was beautiful.
I'm
So
Shay
beautiful.
Northrup.
And I am still Pauline.
And we are going to bring to you the best
The
of
dreamy television.
So we're going to talk to you guys a little bit about Miss Marvel, an up-and-coming show, Sinners, an up-and-coming show, Heathers, and the critically acclaimed awesome show about cocaine, Narcos.
Cocaína.
Yeah, dude, that show is great.
I do. But we got to set up for last. Best for last.
Yeah, we'll talk about Narcos later. I'm sure you all want to hear about it, so stick around for that. Now, what we're first going to start you off with is Marvel seems to be planning something big for Miss Marvel. How exciting. Now, if you don't know who Miss Marvel is, there have been 4 different alliterations of her in the comic book series themselves. And so this one is Kamala Khan, I think is, how do you pronounce it?
Kamala.
Kamala Khan. So
Kamala Khan.
Kamala Khan.
There you go.
I am really bad with names.
No, it's okay. You got
Pauline's
it.
the smart one here. So she is the 4th character to take on the Miss Marvel name. And she first appeared in Captain Marvel 17. So she is a 16-year-old Pakistani-American girl from Jersey. And she idolizes Carol Danvers, who is the Captain Marvel character as of right now. So she was given her own Marvel series in February 2014. And she is the first ever Muslim character to have her own comic book in the Marvel series, which is actually really exciting.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So it's not clear what exactly they're going to do with her, if it will be in television or film. And the reason we're talking about it on the TV podcast is because I'm strongly sure, I'm like 90% positive that this is going to be a TV thing. So Joe Quesada. Yeah, there you go. Again, bad with names. Sorry, guys. Joe Quesada has teased that Marvel is planning something big down the line for Miss Marvel. Something big. So, again, this is the company's first Pakistani superhero. And it's going to be kind of a coming-of-age story. She's 16, so she's coming to age. And so I guess her first debut in the screen world was in Avengers Ultron Revolution. It was a animated movie. And I think they have talked about her a little bit on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And she's been featured in the Captain Marvel comics and now has her own. So we'll see what happens with her. Now they're also saying that some people are saying she might join the New Warriors in the television show where Squirrel Girl may come in.
Yes.
And
Squirrel Girl. Again,
it seems like more people would prefer her to get her own Netflix series, but I feel like she's a little bit too in the mainstream for that.
Okay, yeah.
It seems like the Netflix heroes are kind of reserved more for the B-list heroes.
Right.
And I don't think that Miss Marvel is necessarily a B-list hero. And if she is, I think she is more suited for like an animated show.
Okay.
I don't think we could give her a really edgy show, to be perfectly honest.
On Netflix,
yeah, because the Netflix ones are a little bit more. They're not so much fighting other supervillains and superheroes. They're usually fighting like gangsters,
crime.
It's usually like crime related,
Crime Stoppers,
and it's usually really edgy and gory and violent. And I can't imagine that they're going to be putting a 16-year-old girl in such violent situations.
Exactly.
Although they've done it in the past. I mean, we've all seen Kick-Ass, right? And in Kick-Ass, they I mean, little girl. And it's funny because
I like that movie.
It's funny because in the actual comic book, it's much, much, much worse.
Oh, really?
Like, it is a gore fest. Like, part of the reason I think that Kick-Ass was made was just to kind of show people, like, hey, look, like, being a superhero is a legit thing. Mm-hmm. If you try to do this, you're probably going to end up dead.
Right.
And another movie that's really good about that is the movie Super. It stars the guy from The Office, the one who plays Dwight Schrute.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And, oh, man, that movie's even worse about, like, showing you what it's like to be an actual superhero. There's a scene in the movie where, like, he first gets his suit and everything, and he's, like, out behind a dumpster, and he's like, night one, waiting for crime. And then they show him do the same thing in front of the same dumpster, and he jumps again. He's like, night two.
I have seen that one.
Still also waiting for crime.
Yes.
So, you know, I don't really see this becoming a Netflix series, and I honestly don't see this becoming a movie. I honestly don't think that, and you know, they have done it with a few other characters before, like Ant-Man and stuff like that.
Right.
But I don't see this getting its own movie franchise. I think this might just stay in the animation. Now, one of the things that's interesting to note as well, Carol has not been introduced yet. So the actual Captain Marvel, the one that's inspired Miss Marvel to be Miss Marvel, she has not been introduced in the new Marvel series as far as the movies and shows and everything go. And like, so the Disney Marvel stuff, all their TV and movie stuff seem to all kind of coexist in the same universe.
Exactly.
But the comic books, not as much. So Captain Marvel has not been introduced yet in any of these forms. And so without Captain Marvel, how are we going to push this character's introduction? Because if she's inspired by this other character.
Right.
Unless they show Captain Marvel as kind of like this ghost character that she looks up to, like in a flashback or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like I really don't see it. Yeah, but I don't see them doing that. Now, some people speculate that they might give her a new reason for her iconic name and look. I doubt it, because Marvel stays pretty close to the source material. They're not on point, but they're pretty close, and they usually keep the
big thing. Yeah, big detail to change.
They usually keep the origin stories the same,
right?
At least from the newer Marvel stuff. Now, that's why I don't see it being a film or a series. That's why I think it's probably going to be on the same show, The New Warriors, with Squirrel Girl.
Kind of like add-in.
And, you know, and it's cool, too, because, like, you know, Marvel seems to be doing a pretty good job right now of including female superheroes.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
It's really like nice, especially with Jessica Jones. Jessica Jones does a really good job reaching out to the female audience while still being edgy and kind of awesome. I have my own little quarrels with Jessica Jones, mostly in the stage combat area of it, because the lady who plays Jessica Jones is more known for doing rom-coms and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
I don't think she really knows any like martial arts. But one of my friends actually brought up to me, you know, because I'm watching a scene and she's just kind of like tossing people around, and they cut away from her whenever she does anything. Really. So or it's really choppy, and I'm like, it's obvious she doesn't know any stage combat.
Yeah.
But when somebody brought it up to me in a really good way, saying that actually, because Jessica Jones is so strong, she's never actually had to learn how to really fight, because she just uses her strength to throw people around and
slam people.
You know, so she doesn't really need to know martial arts. And I don't need her to know basic martial arts, but everyone knows how to throw a punch. And
she's not throwing it.
Not in a way that I believe it. But the content of the show is really good, and I love her arch nemesis. So I would really like to see Miss Marvel come into the Marvel universe, especially because we haven't seen a Muslim character and a Pakistani character in the universe, especially in the movies. The movies seem to be pretty whitewashed as far as I'm concerned. And I've made that quarrel before. And that about wraps up all the time we have for the first segment here. And when we get back, stick around, because we are going to talk about the new up-and-coming show Sinners and Heathers. So we will be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts television podcast. So I have some exciting news. If you care, I care.
I care.
Yes, thank you. You could at least pretend to care. Yeah.
I'm shooting Pauline a heart.
So, Jessica Biel, who I love. And
Jessica Biel is great.
I love her. I think she's very beautiful. Well, okay, so she's basically making a return to television, which I'm very excited about. She is starring and executive producing the show. It's a drama called The Sinner. And I'm actually really looking forward to this. Basically, the plot is that it's based off a book, which is also named The Sinner. And basically, the story is that she is a mother. She's a young mother who commits a startling and very public act of violence, but she has no reason why.
Right.
Like, she has no idea why she did this, committed this act. So basically, it's exploring why she did it and exploring her psyche and her secrets and what led up to this. Because I'm assuming she, on the outside, seemed like a woman that would not do that. Right. So it's really out of the character's character.
Well, this is supposed to be kind of like a crime drama in a sense, right?
Yes.
That's what I'm getting out of it.
Yeah, and I love those. I love them. I love them. I love them. I love them. But the thing is that this is actually just a pilot. Right. It's an hour-long pilot episode, so it still has yet to be picked up for an actual series. So hopefully it's received well.
If we're lucky, yeah.
If we're lucky. And this will actually be Jessica Biel's first time back in an actual regular TV role in 15 years. So
yeah, now if you're not familiar with Jessica Biel, she was on Seventh Heaven. Mm-hmm. She was in the A-Team.
Yes. She did Valentine's Day, The Illusionist.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
She did do voice role for BoJack.
Yeah, as herself, actually.
Yeah. So she has still been in the industry. It's just that this will, and it's kind of cool because she's going to be the executive, part of that executive producer team for the show, which is really cool too. So she's going to have another aspect with it as well. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to seeing. Hopefully, like I said, it does get picked up for the series so that we're not left hanging after all this buildup. But I mean, I guess we still have the book.
Right, that's also true. If it doesn't get picked up, I hope that there would be a place that we could see it. Unfortunately, a lot of times with pilot TV shows, if they don't get picked up, they just get dropped into limbo.
And then they're lost forever. And then
there's probably so much good content that's out there that we just never get to see.
Yeah, true, very true.
But with some star power like Jessica Biel, I'm pretty sure it'll get picked up.
Yeah, and if she's willing, if this is what she's choosing to be, her comeback, I'm sure it'll be really good. So
well, and Netflix and Hulu are very, very hungry for content. It seems, especially with Hulu,
they're doing really well,
and Amazon as well, just because they want to be able to keep up with Netflix. Yeah, so a place like that might pick it up.
Okay,
if they're lucky,
an exclusive streaming service.
Do we know anything else about the show, or
not too much? That's basically it. I'm pretty excited. It's looking like the Sinner continues USA's descent into darker and edgier programming. Oh, it's kind of like Mr. Robot. It's one of those type of, it's kind of like dark, which, I mean, it's going to be cool. I like Jessica Biel for that. Mm-hmm. I'm excited for that.
Well, that's a different role for her. I don't think she really plays dark characters all that often.
Right.
Except maybe in The Illusionist and whatever she was in Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
And that's a scary one, so I did not see
well,
that.
and that's the 2003 one, not the classic.
Right.
All of the reboots, remakes, and sequels for that series have been terrible. So on another note, speaking of dark TV shows, it looks like Heathers is being picked up to be a TV show this time instead of a movie.
Right.
Now, have you ever seen the
I haven't seen the
1988
original
film Heathers? Well, it stars Winona Ryder and Christian Slater, and it was a cult classic, black comedy. Supposed to have like a decent new take on like the high school film type thing.
Right.
Really, really dark and fairly violent, actually.
I did see the trailer for it, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah,
it probably would have scared me back then.
It's on Netflix, and if you haven't seen it, I recommend picking it up. It's definitely my kind of movie, so I'm not sure where it fits in with everywhere else. It seems kind of lighthearted at first, but then it starts to get into like a dark descent as it goes.
Right.
And so it seems like TV Land is picking this up.
That's what's kind of throwing me off. If it's supposed to be kind of like a dark,
scary-ish.
Well, and TV Land doesn't.
TV Land really doesn't do thriller. They're pretty safe, you know.
Right.
So the original 1988 film was written by Daniel Waters and and directed by Michael Luman. And the characters, it centers on Veronica, who is Winona Ryder, and her boyfriend DJ. Who's, Christian Slater, and them kind of dealing with the social order in high schools and that sort of thing. And so there's this group of
the cool
girls called the Heathers, who kind of go around and terrorize the school, and they're kind of getting back at them. And there's like a real big reveal and twist at the end of the film. It's kind of funny and kind of disturbing at the same time. It's definitely a thriller, but TV Land describes this. So they're doing and they describe it as a black comedy that takes place in present day. And the new evil Heathers, it's going to be Heather McNamar. Yeah, Heather McNamar, who is a black lesbian. Heather Duke, who is a male who identifies as genderqueer. And
his real name is Heath.
Yes, his real name is Heath. And Heather Chandler, Kim Walker, who has the body like Martha dump truck. Now,
so they're all kind of different, but then they're supposed to be the cool girls.
They're supposed to be the cool girls.
Right.
Now, in the original film, all the cool girls were these white, blonde, preppy girls. I think it's a little bit strange that they would give these character roles to the antagonists.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what I was thinking.
I feel like these guys would be the protagonists, you know? And so if they're going off the basic show, we have a straight white couple who's going against... You know, there seems to be some sort of like... I have some sort of like issues with kind of who's the protagonist, who's the antagonist, and some of the connotations that go with that, you know? Like, it's a little worrying, you know? And TV Land isn't been really good about like being racially equal or anything either, or that sort of thing. Like TV Land is not good at that sort of thing. So I'm kind of worried about what they're going to be doing here. So it's a single camera entry that is supposed to be kind of like FX's Fargo is what they say.
Right.
But we'll see. Like I don't see TV Land doing a kind
Fargo.
Yeah. So it's expected to begin this fall, and it looks like So it looks like Leslie Headland is going to be the director of this film, and she has been known for doing Sleeping with Other People. She directed that. So she's supposed to direct this. And so she says that she immediately fell in love with the original film after seeing it in her 20s. And I quote, "I related with it so much," she tells THR. Quotes again. "I can't believe they got away with so much. This movie was a huge influence on an entire generation, and it will be nice to introduce this to a new generation." End quote. So one of the things that the actual original Heathers movie did was it did bring up homosexuality a little bit. One of the football players was gay, and so like at his funeral, you know, the dad's like, "I love my gay son,"
right?
All of this, and I think there's a big plot in it about like suicide and like people committing suicide in the film itself. I can't remember too much about it, but it does seem a little bit counterproductive to me. Like it seems like they're going to be making the wrong people mad. Like if they make the LGBT community mad, then they're going to be in real trouble, and this show will get kicked really, really fast. And so it just seems like they're making the antagonists the wrong people. It really does. It sounds like if we have these people as the protagonist, wouldn't you think it would be more of an accepting group of people than, in the original Heathers? It seems like something to me. Like, I complained a little bit in an episode of the Sci-Fi Podcast about how, like, you could consider the movie Avatar a little bit racist, and that you could, it's not really doing what it's supposed to. I feel like they have the idea that they're like, oh, well, we're going to make some of the characters a little bit more fit some different roles that we're used to seeing. But what I think they may accidentally end up do is they might end up misrepresenting.
Yeah.
And that is a big problem that Hollywood has. And TV Land does not have a good record with that.
Right, exactly. So it's kind of like murky water right here.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about this. Like, and I liked the Heathers movie a lot. I think it's a good movie. It's definitely right up my alley with this like tongue-in-cheek but violent kind of thing. Like that's
totally Shay.
I'm sarcastic and violent when it comes to my tastes. But I think TV Land may be the wrong place for this. I feel like if HBO were to pick this up, or if Fox had this, it might be a decent show. I'm kind of worried that they might be doing the wrong thing with this. I feel like this might end up being like an ABC type show. That's something I'm really worried about. I'm thinking they're going to forget all about the thriller element of it, and they're going to just make it a movie about like high school drama queens.
Cliquish,
yeah, and that's not what the movie. I mean, it is kind of a little bit what the movie's about, but it's really not. Like they're just. I feel like it's going to be missing that element. So there are a lot of little things that are kind of alarming for me in this, and I'm kind of scared. Like I feel like this isn't going to be a very good thing. Hopefully, it is. Like hopefully, I watch the show and it proves me wrong, but we will see. And that is all I have to say about that. I'm sorry that I ranted on so long about that, Pauline.
No, it's true. I agree. I actually agreed with everything that you were saying on this one.
Really?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
So
you're just as worried.
I was thinking when I saw that it was TV Land, and I was like, but this is supposed to be a thriller.
Right.
And kind of like a scary, like element to it. I was like, TV Land, interesting. And I had to reread it again because I was like, TV Land. I don't get it. TV Land kind of just reminds me of Marsha.
Right.
So.
And I don't see Leslie Headland as being the kind of person who can pull off thriller.
Right.
I mean, she did Sleeping with Other People.
So.
That's not.
Maybe this is just a new avenue for everybody.
Yeah, maybe.
But I want them to stay close to that Heathers.
Right. Well, and if they're going to use the name, at least, then you might as well have something from the original show,
True. It seems like the only thing the same is just the couple.
And when we get back, we will be talking a little bit about the show Narcos.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And we're welcoming you guys back to the television podcast. I am always going to be Pauline.
And I'm still Shay.
And you never know, You could be whoever you want to be.
I can get a name change.
Hey, you definitely can. Or you could just spell it differently.
I like the way it's spelled.
I agree.
A lot of people try to spell my name with an EY, but it's AY. So I
it's like
I don't.
She.
I don't.
I feel like SHEY is she.
I don't like it that way. That's like the French way to spell it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think it's like Irish or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Pauline
I've met a
is
lot of
just
other
Pauline.
Shays, but they've all been girls.
Oh, yeah. Not going to lie, when I first heard that your name was Shay, I was like, oh, a girl. And then I was like, surprise. You're Shay Northrop, and I'm still Pauline. But so we are very excited to talk about this next show that is on television. It is Narcos, and I actually just learned about this show. It was really interesting because I think it was like last week, 2 different individuals who don't even know each other brought up the show to me, and I was like, okay, let me check this out. And it's really funny because when I was deciding to finally start the first season, they actually have so it's exclusive to Netflix.
Yes.
And they actually premiered season 2 on September 2nd.
Yeah, so it's been a couple days, but it just got dropped.
And so it's funny because it's like right when I was learning just about season 1, they were dropping season 2, and it's actually just been confirmed that they will be renewing the series for season 3 and 4. So
really,
I'm really, really excited because I so far have watched the first 2 episodes, and so if you don't know, if you're like me and you're just now learning about it now that it's hit season 2, it is basically telling the story of Pablo Escobar.
yes.
And like I said, I've only seen the first 2 episodes. I love it because I love like I don't know how to say this, but I like the drug, sex, and killing.
Right.
I do. I like it. I like the adventure.
It's great. Well, it's because it's like it's not what everyday normal people get to do, but it's something that we kind of fantasize about. It's like the whole Scarface thing, right?
Yeah, and it's like this is really this man's life.
Right.
You know, and I think the other interesting element is because it starts basically season 1 starts from the beginning, so before he actually became this really dominant drug lord. And it's just interesting to see the steps that led up to his, him producing this and starting that empire, and how, and it's really weird because since it's a true story and being present now and seeing all the effects of this early humble beginnings, because it kind of started off on like an accident type thing. It just kind of like happened. It kind of like found him. And he just like blew it all up and everything to what it is now. And it's like one of those things, like his legacy now. And it's like really almost eerie because we know what happens, and we see the effects of this empire that he's building. But then it's really weird because at the same time, it's intriguing to me because it's like this man really dealt with it as just a product and an enterprise and building up his wealth.
Well, and you'd be surprised how many people like, here in the States, we kind of look at Pablo Escobar a lot of times as a villain, but you'd be surprised how many people in Colombia and even in South America in general consider him a saint.
Because of all and like he had like a neighborhood named after him. He gave a lot of money back into like where he grew up and things like that. So it's really weird.
I'm not going to get too much into the politics on that, but I remember really when the show dropped, when it first came out, it just like showed up on Netflix. I didn't hear anything about it. I didn't see anything about it. I just saw it on Netflix, and I like the first day that it got dropped, I think I watched the first like 4 episodes. It's a good show. It is a lot of fun. I feel like it does get old after a little while. I like to watch it in short bursts. I can't binge watch this show, especially because it's the kind of thing that like kind of like grinds. Once you've kind of been introduced to the drug culture and everything, and like you kind of realize like some of the bad things about it.
Yes, that's the thing. It
kind of wears on you.
It's kind
of
foreboding.
Bit.
Yeah, it's really eerie in a way. It's not trying to be, but it's just like wow.
Yeah, it is, and it's like it doesn't hold back. Like it tries to show him. So there's like he's a man.
Right.
It shows the good and the bad and the ugly. And so it gets really into his life and what's going on. And it's actually funny because his brother hit up Netflix and was like, hey, you guys aren't doing it 100% accurately. Like, this is where you're wrong. And so they're like, okay, well, we'll work with you. Help us out.
Wow.
So they've actually they've got like firsthand people helping them out.
Yeah,
with
adding
the show
input.
And,
so it's really, wow. I like that.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. I believe Jordan and Keith talked about it on an episode of Entertainment.
Okay.
And yeah, no, Narcos is a really good show. If you haven't seen it, I recommend checking it out. If you're into the whole Scarface thing, like,
yeah,
it has that 1980s Miami Vice kind of feel to it, you know, with, you know, like you said, the guns, the drugs, the sex. And I think the best thing that I have to say that I like about this show, that I like about a lot of shows about mobsters and drug dealers,
right,
is it shows the human.
I was going to say, there's times where I kind of like him.
Yeah, well, and then there'll be times where you're going to dislike him. Like,
yeah.
I mean, say what you want about the guy, but he was a man, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they're not trying to glorify him, which I think is excellent. I'm glad that
I think they do a really good job of that.
And they don't try to
demonize him.
It's kind of awesome.
They just are really telling his story.
Right. It's kind of like Breaking Bad in a lot of ways. Like,
yeah.
You know, a lot of people, when they talk about Narcos, compare it to Breaking Bad. And in a lot of ways, Breaking Bad, they bring up Pablo Escobar, and they talk about, like, how the stuff with Pablo Escobar is kind of a little bit of a inspiration on Breaking Bad itself.
Yeah.
Because you have this guy who becomes this unlikely guy that becomes a drug tycoon.
Yeah.
You know? So it's kind of one of those things where it's just really good television.
It is. It really is. And I think that because it is, and I love it. I love true stories, like when they, you know, bring up things, and how I was saying, I mentioned earlier how it's still like affecting us now, and I think maybe that's perhaps why it's so popular.
He never got caught, I don't think. Like, he never had
it's
to
really
pay
a
for
cool.
his, you know.
It's a really not cool as in like this is okay, but it's a really interesting and intriguing story.
Right.
It really, just in general.
Right. Well, and the history behind it is all interesting. You know, if you liked this, Pauline, there is a mini series on Netflix as well called Carlos.
Oh.
It's in a very similar style, but it's about a international terrorist.
Oh, okay.
And he blows up buildings and shoots people and holds people hostage for money. Yeah. No. If you like Narcos, I highly recommend Carlos. It's a mini series. I think it's 10 parts. I don't think it's worth watching the whole 10 parts. The first couple episodes are really, really good.
Right.
They're like little movies almost. They're like 2 hour long. But Narcos is a really good show. Highly recommend it. You guys should all check it out, unless you're of the faint of heart and really violent.
Yeah, and then, you know,
lots of sex.
What can we say? But I think they do a really good job with like the sex scenes too. It's
tasteful.
It's not over the top.
It's not gratuitous.
Yeah, it's really not. And so but it is interesting. I think it's a really it's kind of like a history lesson, but not, because
probably a lot of it's made up and fantasized too.
Right.
Because we don't know everything.
Right. Because some of the stuff, it's just really, I think it's a really cool show. I really, really do. I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying like learning, because like they mentioned that he was actually the first person to bring it into the United States.
Yes.
So like it's always, then you get the whole what if. You know, what if this never happened? What would it have still eventually gotten here somehow, some way? Would it have came here in such huge shipments and so steadily? Would have it, what, you know, because so it's just like interesting to think like the what if side of it, and it always makes me, when I listen to stories like this and hear stories like this, watch it on TV or whatever, I always think like, what if we could. This might kind of sound a little bit morbid, but I don't mean it to sound morbid. But like, if you could bring that person back and show them all the continuation, like in a way, like it's a lack of a better word, but like his legacy,
right?
You know, and like it's not necessarily a good one, you know, because it does affect a lot of people in a very negative way. But there's just like people in general, you know, that have done things that have impacted the world in such a long-lasting influence, good or bad. It's like, look, you know, we are still talking about you, and we are still intrigued by your story and things like that. Not just Pablo, but just in general. Yeah. But this is an example of one where he might have been just doing it for himself and like selfish reasons, and to build money and to stack money and things like that.
Apparently he did a lot for his community
and
too.
Yeah, you know, and things like that. The money was the motive, but then it's like, dude, it's kind of like one of those things, like it positively impacted the people that he wanted it to positively impact at the expense of everyone else,
right?
You know?
Well, and arguably he didn't really care about the United States because what did the United States do for him?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
you could argue
I
both
get it.
sides.
Yeah. True. Very true. But it's like, it's just like grown and continues to like impact us. So,
right.
Which he may or may not even feel bad about. So.
And I think that's all the time we have for today. So we talked to you guys about Miss Marvel, Sinners, TV Land's Heathers, and we talked to you guys a little bit about Narcos.
Yes.
So when that concludes the day for us today, if you want to listen to us, you can find us on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Golden State Media Concepts Podcast.com, and iTunes.
Yes.
So anywhere that you can find podcasts, you can find us. Make sure you like us and comment and interact with us. What do you think, man?
Yeah.
Like,
do you like Narcos?
What do you think about Heathers? Do you think this is going to be a big flop like I do? Like, what are you guys' thoughts?
I want to know. I want to know.
Yep. Can you show us? Anyway, that's all we have to do for the day, and we will talk to you
next
soon.
time.